Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. All right, he's back. In the Bullpen today, I have attorney at law, Los Angeles attorney extraordinaire. All right, very popular guy. We have attorney Kurt Schlichter. And we're gonna chop it up about January 6th and also maybe get into constitutional carry. We talked about that briefly last time he was on the show. Kurt, attorney, good to see you again, brother. How are you?
Dr. Ritchie, thank you so much for having me back. I had so much fun the last time. It's always good to talk to somebody who maybe doesn't agree with everything I think. I think that's where we get to the truth, right?
I hope so. So we're gonna give it a shot, all right? I don't want to presume what you know or believe about these topics. Let's start with January 6th, since we're in the anniversary week of that terrorist attack. What are your thoughts about what happened? And then I will share my sentiment.
Well, look, I'm against political violence of all types. I am strongly in favor of vigorous protest. What happened on January 6th has been blown out of proportion, utterly and completely. It is not on par with 9/11 or on par with Pearl Harbor. Maybe I'm a little biased. I was with the Army on the streets of Los Angeles and South Central, helping reinstall peace during a real riot, which lasted many days and left almost 60 people dead. Most of my troops lived in the area that was affected. So we were all very dedicated to keeping the peace. So look, I think it's being exploited. I don't think it was a transcendent event. I think it was a relatively minor fracas in the big scheme of things. And I have huge concerns about the unequal prosecution for the people who have been arrested. I don't see it being equal to what other comparable events, and that's unacceptable. So I'm much more concerned, Dr. Ritchie, with the fallout from afterwards. How are we going to treat the people who were caught up in this? Are we going to treat them the same as we treat other people? Because if we're not, that's not acceptable.
My dear brother. All right, where do I start? Let me first start with, do you know how many law enforcement officials were injured during the terrorist attack on January 6th? How many?
Well, first of all, it wasn't a terrorist attack.
Do you know how many were injured or not?
Attack. This was a minor riot.
How many were injured?
On par with most football,
Attorney Kurt,
football or basketball
championships. Asked and not answered.
But again, not excusing hurting police officers.
Sir, are you going to answer the question, brother?
Yeah,
over 100. Over 100 law enforcement personnel were injured. Now let me go back to your original proclamation that this was not a terrorist attack. What's the definition of terrorism?
A terrorist attack is a politically motivated, violent action designed to inflict fear and change policy through fear.
There you go,
I think
brother.
That's a good, useful definition.
All right, that's the working legal definition. Basically, the use of criminality, violence, and intimidation to civilians and non-civilians in order to impact a political outcome. So you basically have it.
Definition.
All right, that's a fair definition. Now, how does that definition, Attorney Kurt, not square with the political violence? We just admitted, you just admitted on my show, 100 cops were actually injured. You just admitted that that's violence.
Well, that's a fact. How can I not
That's right.
admit it?
So how is it that terrorism, you said it's not terrorism.
No.
Terrorism is the use of violence, the use of intimidation, the use of these methods in order to affect a political outcome. You don't get more political, brother, than the certification of a United States presidential election. They were trying to stop that process according to their expressed intent. So how was this not terrorism based on the definition you just provided to me?
Well, first of all, you have to accept your premise that they were attempting to stop the count. I think a lot of them were attempting to simply go there and make their voices known.
So what was the mantra being chanted by those thousands of
thousands?
What was the mantra being chanted? What was the
mantra being chanted by thousands? What's your contention?
It was stop the steal. Remember?
Yes. No.
What was the rally called? Hold on, brother.
Are they supposed to not
these are simple questions. What was the rally called that they attended first before they raided the Capitol? What was the rally called?
I believe you're going to tell me it was Stop the Steal, which is
and what is in question in reference to the verbiage "Stop the Steal"? What are they talking about stopping?
There is a justifiable suspicion that many formal and informal violations of norms and possibly laws connected with the 2020 election existed. Now,
are elections political?
I worked for the president.
Are elections political?
Well, I was one of his lawyers there. So
are elections political?
Well, everything's political. How do you not be political? Political is how we deal with decisions in our society.
So elections are in fact political.
Politics.
Elections are in fact political, correct?
I'm sorry, say again?
Elections are in fact political, correct?
Well, of course.
There was violence to stop a political process, correct?
Characterizing the entire events of January 6th as political violence attempting to somehow stop the election is incorrect.
They said they were trying to stop the election certification.
Look, many people walked through, many people were loud, many people were taking selfies. Some people got into fights with the cops. That happens all the time. Happens at the Portland courthouse, to which people were, their charges dismissed. Happened after the inauguration of President Trump. All those charges were dismissed. And I think that's frankly to me, a bigger concern is unequal application of the law. We either have one set of laws or we have two.
Let me give you unequal application of the law. Let me give you unequal application of the law, since this seems to be a big deal for you.
It's a very big deal.
Black defendants are 22% more likely to be sentenced to a harsher penalty than white defendants with the same crime and same background. Are you concerned about that unequal application of the law?
I'd be extremely concerned if I was convinced that evidence was correct. If that is a true statement that you have made, that's an outrage.
Let me ask you this.
Other factors at play?
Let me ask you this. I just said with the same background.
But if somebody is treated differently because of their political view, or treated differently because of their race, or treated differently because of their sexual orientation, that is absolutely wrong.
Yeah, it is wrong.
We cannot have a dual system of justice. There has to be one standard for everyone.
Well, first of all, we do have a dual system of justice, and you know this as a lawyer. Lady Justice is not blind. The symbol that's utilized in justice to proclaim what justice should be. Lady Justice is not blind. Lady Justice is blindfolded, which means Lady Justice at any time can peek from under the blindfold. Her sight works just fine, and there's an inequity.
We have found agreement here. I often tell people, look, if you're looking for justice, you're not necessarily going to find it in a courthouse.
Yeah, all right.
But that doesn't mean you and I can't fight for it. And that includes sometimes taking the side of people that others will tell us we're not supposed to be on the same side of.
All right, let me ask you this.
Freedom and rights. I think you are too.
Yeah, let me ask you this. I believe those that stormed the Capitol committed not only criminal trespass, destruction of property, physical assault on police officers, went there armed, went there with bombs, went there to do actual violence. I think they absolutely should be dealt with in a harsher way. You think they are being dealt with too harshly, but let me put another perspective in front of you. If members of a Black Lives Matter protest, right? If they were protesting because, let's say Donald Trump won the election, and they did not believe Donald Trump was legitimate in that victory, and they decided to take a rally to the lawn of the Capitol, illegally enter the Capitol, break windows, scale the walls, break into offices, physically assault over 100 officers, and deaths are created from their movement, would you blame them or would you defend them on my show?
Well, look, I don't have to go out. I don't have to think of that as hypothetical, because that sort of thing did happen. We had Antifa and Black Lives Matters riots all over the country that did hurt people and did lead to deaths. Sir,
first of all, that's a ridiculous answer and a false premise.
But I believe it's
Kurt, are you going to answer? You can't lawyer me, brother. Are you going to answer the question? Would you defend if it was black folk, brown folk, folk with the last name Muhammad storming the US Capitol, disrupting a constitutionally mandated process, would you come here on this show and say, oh, people are blowing that out of proportion?
If they were blowing it out of proportion, I would.
Look at you, Kurt. Look at you, man.
Observing that there's unequal treatment, that we have people who have a constitutional right to a speedy trial who sat in jail for a year without bail and still don't have trial dates. I don't think pointing that out is somehow defending somebody. I think that's defending the Constitution.
Let me ask you, do you believe what happened was violent? Do you believe what happened was violent on January 6th?
Some of it was violent.
It was violent. Explain this to me. You consider
yourself. I believe
yourself.
Some of it wasn't. I believe some of
you believe some of it was violent.
With horns going and sitting on the speaker's chair. That wasn't violent.
Let me ask you this question. You do consider yourself to be a conservative, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm within the conservative side. If you want to get more specific,
explain this to me.
Drill down.
Why is it that 70% of Republicans believe that what happened at the Capitol was not violent?
I don't know if that's what they believe. They don't believe it's an insurrection, because insurrection is a term of art with a specific meaning. They don't believe it was on par with 9/11 or.
Do you believe what they said? I'm talking about the attackers, what they said they were trying to do. Do you believe them?
Well, who were the attackers? I mean, if you're talking about a couple of nuts, that doesn't represent.
Sir, do you call 745 individuals who have been arrested? A few hundred of those have pled guilty. 40 of them have been charged with conspiracy because of their coordinated efforts. Do you call that minor?
Well, most of these people are charged with parading illegally.
Sir, do you call that minor?
Murder.
Do you call it minor when they attempted to kidnap the governor of Michigan? You call that minor?
Oh, I think that is a giant scam, and I am looking forward to a trial where the FBI's role in it can be fully explained. I think.
Okay, so you think? Wait a minute. You think it's a scam?
Stupid things. I think
that's a scam.
I don't think that's the proper role of the FBI.
But you think it's a scam that there was an attempted kidnapping of a sitting governor?
There was, or I don't.
Tell me what evidence do you have?
I don't believe that has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And
well, sir, you know this, Kurt.
Deeply involved won't be participating in the case because they've either been fired.
Oh, Kurt.
One of them got arrested for.
Kurt, you've gone full Marjorie Taylor Greene on my show, sir.
I'm sorry.
You've gone full Marjorie Taylor Greene.
I have. I don't think you should have me. You shouldn't label me as somebody else. I know that has a lot of meaning to your audience, but that's not who I am.
Do you support Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Hey, we have a constitution.
You support Marjorie Taylor Greene?
I'm sorry?
You support Marjorie Taylor Greene?
I support all Republicans.
All of them?
Well, not on everything they say. I get annoyed with some of them sometimes. I think you probably get annoyed with some of your Democrats. Like,
yeah, I don't support
Joe Manchin.
Hell no. Let me tell you something, brother. I don't support Democrats. I don't support Republicans. I support people who support people. I support people who support the communities that I love.
I belong to the Republican Party, and I support the Republican Party.
All right, so basically you engage in tribalism.
Doesn't everybody? Isn't that normal?
We should work against that. Think about the ideology.
Part of a party. Doesn't it make sense to support your party in general?
It makes sense to support the agenda of progressing the value system you believe in. You may disagree with me as it relates to values.
Parties, in a two-party system, the Republican Party is the party of the right. The party of the right is generally going to support the things that I support. Am I a registered Republican? Yeah. Would it be? It would be.
Good for you on that. But let me ask you this, and we got to go to the next show, and I want to make sure I get you on record with this, okay? Sure. So in your estimation, terrorism is in fact violence in order to affect a political outcome. But for some reason, go ahead.
Violence to cause fear among civilians to cause a political outcome. Yes, that is a.
Now, according to the definition that you've stated, which by the way is 90% accurate, according to your definition that you've stated on the show.
That's good. We could look through it. We could look through the United States
Code.
But
that does in fact fit what happened on January 6th. The reason why I keep bringing this to your attention is because we have to call a thing a thing. We have to be very honest about what happened on January 6th. the sentencing of these individuals, even the chief district federal judge said what they did does not fit the deals that they are being given, because these deals are basically cookie cut deals, and these plea deals do not match the severity of what happened on that day. This was not simply a protest gone bad. This was a coordinated effort at top to bottom. They wanted Mike Pence to do something. They wanted this ground game to do something. They wanted to stop the Electoral College from being certified. That, sir, is political. So how do you say this was a minor thing and people are blowing it out of proportion? We're talking about the very foundation of democracy in the United States of America.
No, we're not. It was a protest. Some of these people got out of hand. Some of these people went in areas they weren't supposed to. The vast majority were not violent. Some got in tussles with cops. That's true.
Some got in tussles.
My concern is,
this is fascinating.
Is everybody being treated the same? And we certainly don't.
No, man. Well, listen, here's what we agree. They're not being treated equal. They're being treated supreme. They're not being treated the same. They're being treated as if they have white privilege. Because I guarantee you, you damn right. I guarantee you, they ass need to be in jail for 20 years. Let me say this, brother.
That's not great privilege.
If their last names would have been Muhammad, or they would have been black or brown, you know good and damn well, because you've been working in law too long, you know good and damn well this system would have dealt with them in a much different way.
In what way? Are they going to send SWAT teams to their house? Well, we got that. Keep them in human conditions? We got that. Not give them a speedy trial? We got that. Not give them the evidence against
I got to go to the next show. I got to go to the next show. It's always fun. Oh, Kurt, come on, man. Kurt, go sip a latte. I appreciate you being on the show. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.